So I want to read you a quote. The hardest part of pivoting is knowing when to stop the turn. Who said that? Me. I said that. I made a decision recently that I was going to pivot away from some of the content that I was making on this channel before. I wasn't 100% sure what I meant by that, but I promise you, by the end of this video, you and I will both know exactly where I stand. But before I get into that, I want to ask you a question. How do you feel about social media? I bet I pretty much already know what you're going to say. At least to some degree, I'll have a pretty good idea of the range of comments that I'm going to get from people. But do me a favor, go down in the comments and let me know what you think of like the state of social media, whether that's Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or TikTok or Twitter or whatever it is that you spend your time on in social media. Tell me what you think about the state of things and where you think they're going. I would really love that information so that, you know, who knows, maybe we'll talk about this in the future. In fact, I know I'm going to talk about that stuff in the future because it's going to play a big part, not only what I'm sharing today, but also what I plan on sharing in the future. So yeah, go ahead and leave a comment down below. But now let's talk about what I've been up to for the last 18 months because that's a big factor in the direction that I'm heading. Just before I stopped making videos around here, I started writing again. I got back onto the blogging thing, which I had done for years and years. I kind of fell off because I really just wanted to focus on making art and whatnot, but I've really kind of found a thing for it. I guess you could say that because it's basically encompassed my entire life. I got back into blogging, I started newslettering again, and it really kind of turned into something special. In fact, it was so special that I rebranded it away from my personal name into The Hungry, which is a creative business news website that I talk about like stories, insights, commentary about all the things that are happening in the creative news world. But it's become such a big thing that it's been the #1 thing that I've been focused on in that time. Being Dave, knowing how I pivot, I always have my dalliances going over this direction, this direction, this direction. But for the most part, The Hungry has been my #1 thing, and it's been lucrative. It's been good. It hasn't been great, no, but it's getting there. And you may be asking, well, why did you switch from videos, which were doing so well? I mean, I've got a lot of followers and subscribers on here now. Why would I switch from that and go over to this thing? I found an identity behind what I was sharing. And again, like I said, I'd done blogging for a long time in the past, and I always felt really good about it. And what vibe I got back from others was that they appreciated me sharing my points of view, sharing the things that I found, sharing stories that I might, you know, that might inspire them to do new things. And that just it's just become my identity. It's who I am as a creative person. Sure, I have all this artwork up here that I do things and I make art, and I'm not making it as much as I was, but I do make it. But what really gets me going is when I share good information and people take that information and go do something with it, and it makes a profound effect on what they're doing with their own creative work. When I started to think about that over the last couple of weeks, when I jumped back here into the channel, I was thinking to myself, like, how am I going to incorporate, you know, all of that stuff that I'm talking about and put it here in a way that's more personable? Because this isn't meant to be an extension of The Hungry. The Hungry is something I do, and if you want to go be part of that, you can. There's a link in the description. We can go subscribe to the newsletter. I only do it once a week, and it's great. You'll love it. But I don't want this to be just The Hungry 2.0 or whatever you want to call it. This is me sharing my insights and my things, and I just want to put that out there for you guys, and that hopefully, I don't know, maybe it will direct you to The Hungry. So the way I see this place going is that it's really going to come down to 3 main points of interest. So the first thing is sharing reactions to news and other stories that might have some sort of effect on us as creative people. So like, for instance, TikTok ban is a potential thing. It's possibly going to happen in the next 9 months, and it's going to have a big effect on a lot of people. And so we're going to have to talk about that. So we'll talk about it. I'm also going to share stories and insights of things that I've been working on myself and ways that maybe that can help you. Personal experience is a good way to learn from other people. So I learned something and I share it with you guys because I want other people to learn from it. That'll be a big factor. And the third thing is going to be probably the biggest thing, the thing that most people might be able to pull away from it. That's basically showing you the blueprint. So when I talk about all the different things that I'm doing in order to beef up the channel, beef up the newsletters, we're talking about exactly how that gets done or what decisions I'm making there so that you can learn from that, so that you go into your own thing, whatever it might be. You can skip past some of the obstacles that I've hit so that you don't have to, you know, you can jump right over them. So that's basically it. News and information, things I've learned and willing to share, and how I'm doing it, exactly looking at the roadmap so that you can figure out, like, hey, let's do what Dave does, or let's not do what Dave does. That doesn't look right to me. It probably will, because I've learned a lot and I'm finally starting to take my own lessons into account. So let's dive back into The Hungry for a second, because I believe it's a good resource. In my own, humble opinion, I put a lot of time and energy into it, and the whole purpose is to help people like you grow your business in good and important ways. Just as an example, this is what I shared last week. Number one, how to push back against the AI robots and how to do things and how to make things that AI robots can't. I also talked about Beehive, which is quickly becoming my favorite email newsletter supplier. I love Beehive. And I think a lot of people would love Beehive, and so I talked a little bit about that. The third thing I talked about is my new Instagram strategy, which I'm trying. It's not exactly proven. I can't say that it's actually working just yet, but I'm doing way better there than I was before I started. Every week I share a particular artist in a feature that I call Art Snacks, and this last time I talked about J. Grant Britton, who is a skateboarding photographer that I kind of grew up on his imagery. Just been doing great work still to this day, and he's obviously got a lot of legacy stuff, so I wanted to share him because he also joined the newsletter, and I figured, hey, let's do a little pandering. A celebrity joins my newsletter? Sure. Yeah, why not? I'll share them. Then I have a section called Sides, which are side hustles for creative people. And a lot of times these are going to be things that you may not even considered or even thought of. For instance, this last week I talked about becoming a Jiffy creator. And if you're not familiar with Jiffy.com, it's basically the place where people go to find animated GIFs. GIFs, however you say it, I don't care. But what I didn't know until shortly before I wrote that little article is that you can actually make money on Jiffy just like people do here on YouTube. It's essentially the same idea. You have to apply to be on there, and then once you get accepted, if you generate the type of work and you do it consistently, you can get paid off of how many views you get on those particular GIFs, whatever. I didn't even know this was a thing. I talked to somebody in my audience and they kind of shared it with me, and I'm like, wow. And so now I'm sharing it with you. Or at least I shared it on the newsletter, which you missed because you didn't subscribe. You can go over into the archives and check it out, but while you're there, go subscribe. And then at the very end, I have all my links and stories that might be pertinent to you as a creative person. I kind of go through there and try to find some stuff that's inspirational, informational, educational, all the ationals. Whatever ational you want, I'm serving it up in the links in the bottom of the newsletter. But that's the Hungry, and this is the Dave Connery YouTube, and I'm not going to break down the Hungry every single time I get up here on the camera. For us, our purposes, we're just going to talk about all those other things. And I'm going to talk about them next time. I'll see you. Remember, go down, hit the like button, comment. Tell me what you're thinking about social media, because I really do want that information. Give it to me, please. See you next time.